Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us for Seniors Blue Book Live. I am your host and the publisher, Amanda Barton. Really excited today to bring on one of my very valued partners and dear friends, Mr. Bruce Rosenblatt. How are you this morning?
Doing great, Amanda. Thanks for having me.
Good.
Great to see you.
You have done this for a very long time. You have a great amount of wealth and knowledge to bring to the table. So, thank you again for spending some time with me this morning. I'm just going to ask you to tell our audience a little bit about yourself and your role as a senior living advisor, and talk to me about when someone is trying to make that decision to move. Give me the checklist and the things that they need to know before they start their search for senior living, because
Okay.
you know it all.
Well, thanks, Amanda. Great seeing you today. So, just a little bit about me. So, I have been in the senior housing business for over 30 years. And I know, Amanda, you can appreciate this. There's nothing like having firsthand experience of working at different communities and knowing what goes on a day-to-day basis. And so I know because you've been in the field, and so I understand you totally understand how that goes. And so I have been in this business for 30 years, and I've overseen 75 different retirement communities in 14 different states. So I am very well versed on senior housing and the inner workings of the different communities, and I stay current with all of them. There's about 100 of them in this area, so I stay current with all of them, which I think is extremely valuable. Um, Back in 2008, which is on June, it'll be 13 years. Back in 2008, I recognized that there was a need that people going through this process and trying to understand the differences between all the different communities and when they should do it. And there wasn't a person like me, and so I recognized that there was a need. And so in 2008, I formed my company, Senior Housing Solutions, and that's all that I do. So it's my company. I'm not a franchise. It's just my company, and I meet with people on a very personal one-on-one basis to kind of understand what's going on in their lives, what are they thinking about, what their timing is like, and try to educate them about what the different options are. And so again, with the Seniors Blue Book, I know we work very closely together about educating, and knowledge is power. And so I really feel that is the most important thing, is to help educate people about the different options. And so I get asked a lot about when is the right time. And I have a saying that it's actually on my car, and I'm probably gonna copyright it at some point, but I tell people that it's better to be 5 years too early rather than 5 minutes too late. And so many times that people put off this decision. It's not an easy decision, and people put this decision off for many different reasons. And unfortunately, a crisis usually forces a decision. And it's the last thing we want people to go through. Many of the very good communities have medical criteria that someone's going to have to pass. And if you wait for your health to change, you may not pass that medical. And moving, it takes physical and emotional energy. And if you are not well and in rehab or needing care, you're in no condition to move anyway. And so, you want to move while you can enjoy the community, enjoy the lifestyle, and make friends, and enjoy all the different amenities that these communities offer. And the communities in this area are amenity rich. And so there's so much to enjoy and so much to do. And, you don't want to wait for your health to change. And so, again, I try to tell people, don't wait for this. And, you're not going to wake up one morning and saying, okay, today's the day. It truly takes a plan. It takes some due diligence. You need to go and visit the different communities and figure out the ones you like, figure out ones you don't like, possibly get your name on a waiting list. But it's probably better to do it sooner rather than later. And I get people who maybe one spouse is on board and the other person isn't on board, and they're just hoping that that one spouse all of a sudden is gonna wake up and say, honey, let's do it. And it just doesn't work that way. And there are people who are you know, denial comes in a lot of shapes and forms. And so people will gravitate towards the, sometimes the craziest things about why they shouldn't do it. I had a gentleman, he was an engineer, so I'm sure you can appreciate this. And he read on the internet, and of course you can trust everything you read on the internet, that you needed to be 14 feet from his flat screen. He bought a brand new flat screen television, and he needed to be 14 feet from it, not 13 feet, not 13 and a half feet, 14 feet. And you know how engineers are. And so everywhere we went, he brought his tape measure out and he measured 14 feet. And it was a crazy exercise. And there was some price constraints, so it wasn't like he could just move into any place he wanted to choose, but he had to have that 14 feet. And unfortunately, his wife had progressive cancer, and and they decided not to move, and the cancer got worse, and she ended up passing away. And he's now in his home and by himself and lonely and not eating right, and the kids are worried about him, and he's a fall risk. And it's not the right situation. And so you sit a little bit closer to your television, maybe you get a smaller television, so you just don't want to get so locked into these different things. So that's the big thing, is trying to be proactive and trying to not be reactive when you're making a decision. um,
Definitely.
so
Definitely.
so that's what I do, is I help people. And and I, because of all my experiences and knowing the senior housing industry, like I do, I really, I think I can really help people through this process. I offer a free service, and so my services are 100% free to my clients.
Mhm.
And so and again, it's a very personal service. I meet with people in their own homes. I go with them and schedule appointments for them, and kind of, take them through all the different
It's
steps that
definitely it's
that
it's
they can.
definitely a time saver for those folks that are just getting started. You need to make sure you contact Bruce before you start going to communities, so he can lead you in the right direction, because that's how he's able to offer these services to you at no charge.
You
Um,
know, and I look at it as like, you wouldn't buy a house without having your home inspected. So why would you move to a senior living community which is this a major decision? Why would you move to a senior community without knowing everything you can know about that different community? And so I look at it that way, and I think that's the right way to look at it, is
Bruce
that
is the Carfax of senior housing.
exactly. It's a
And
fact.
I got to touch on the tagline that you have is so important, especially if you're a young senior that's looking for retirement options. These continuing care retirement communities, they have the healthcare and financial assessment, and you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So you have to be proactive versus reactive, because when you're ready, it's too late. They're no longer going to let you in. And I hate to hear the story about your gentleman that has lost his wife, because moving in while she was healthy would have been great for him,
Yep.
to have a good support system as he went through that. So that's unfortunate, and I hope his family is able to step in and help him make that decision to go ahead and move forward.
I hope so. So the other thing that I've done, over this last year, I was getting people who are saying, I want to move closer to where my family is, and my family's in Massachusetts, or I have family up in New Jersey or out in California. And so I developed because people were saying, is there a Bruce in a different city? And so I developed this national network of advisors who do what I do, who I have vetted, I'm in communication with them all the time. And I now have this national network of advisors throughout this country that I can refer people to. So just if I, even though I know Southwest Florida, if you are thinking about relocating up to, up north or out west or somewhere else, let me know, and I can connect you with an advisor in that different city.
That's invaluable information, because I do know a lot of folks that contact us and say, oh, can we get a book out in XYZ county or city or state? So good to know, Bruce. Thank you
Yep,
so much. And
you're welcome.
appreciate your time this morning. Love having you on the show, and I look forward to seeing you in person very soon.
Sounds great. Can't wait to do one of those symposiums again. Those are
Oh,
always great.
yes.
So
Coming to you in 2022.
I'm ready. I'm
All
ready.
right, Bruce. Thanks so
Thanks,
much.
Amanda.